Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very senior professional from the world of academia from Hyderabad, India, Srilakshmi Reddy. Sri, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much and namaste.
Namaste. Sri is the founder and director of the Keynote School, KCITE ASquare Foundation.
Yeah, it's Keystone.
Keystone. So, Sri, let me start by asking you the first question. What first inspired you to enter the field of education and eventually start Keystone School?
I should definitely start off with a small story, and before that, thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here, and I'm glad I'm able to share my journey on this platform. I think it all started with my own journey as a student. In India, especially, I think it's like a blessing in disguise where you get to experience different worlds at the same time. After finishing my engineering, I went on to do a software job like any other engineering professional. But I did not enjoy what I was doing. And at that time, I stumbled on an opportunity at an orphanage and started teaching. It's at that moment when I was teaching students, I realized how different the kind of education I had gone through in a private school versus government school. And also the perception about, how we feel as students when we are learning versus what a teacher is going through. So this curiosity about how children learn, how academically what we really want to convey versus how it is being understood by students. So I wanted to understand this in depth. And that's when my journey into education started, and I, went on to do my research in, education from there on.
How amazing! And when you started Keystone School, what problem in the education system were you trying to solve?
I think the biggest problem I wanted to address was the passive learning. And I think over decades, we've been talking about it. And students are being trained to memorize, reproduce, than really to think or to question or to create. And more than anything, to create is something that I was obsessed about. And when I was doing my master's and the kind of education that I had gone through, I could see that 10 years of learning I could just go through within 3 months. When I was put in the process of implementing something, creating something, executing something. And that whole experience that I had gone through as a student, that when you give the right opportunity and put them in more real world scenarios, the learning explodes and kids are better learners in those situations. And that has made me to create Keystone School and create a school where everything becomes real and real experiences turn into actual learning.
Amazing. You speak about meaningful learning experiences. Sri, what does meaningful learning look like in practice?
I mean, I love this question. It is as abstract as it sounds, right? So I was studying my 9th grade. I was a good student, like top of the class and A grade math student. Every time I used to go to my math teacher, this is like tuition. You know how we had tuitions when we were in schools. And every question I would ask him, sir, can you please tell me where this is used? This trigonometry theorem or, calculus, whatever we were doing. As a student, I always wanted to know, where is this used? Why am I doing this? If you tell me how it is used, where it is used, maybe I'm more motivated. So this is again a student who's already performing well. Now imagine students on an average, everyone who's just, studying at an average level or below average, the disconnection with the learning starts with the abstract thought in their brain that you don't understand that. And when you don't understand something, you're forced to memorize it or just, to remember that because you need to move on. And where the meaningful learning experience comes in, that when you understand the purpose of your learning, why are you learning this? What is the purpose of it? How do I apply this knowledge? Is there a real world context to it? In the process of learning this, can I ask as many questions as I want? Can I solve a problem related to this? I wouldn't say that every single topic in the whole syllabus, everything that a child is going through, they need to go through this. But the more we put them through this, the more we will find purpose with why are we learning this. I think it's more connected to the purpose. And if they find their own purpose with that learning, it gets more meaningful.
Great response. Thank you. Sri, many schools still rely heavily on passive classroom instruction. Why do you think this model still persists?
I think because it is familiar. I mean, I have come across so many teachers. I'm a great advocate of teachers because teachers themselves have not gone through, such innovative learning experiences.
Yeah.
As a child, any teacher, as a student, they were sitting in the same set of classroom. So how else this teacher will think, learning can be different?
Yeah.
And for them to think how, it's like parenting also. You learn certain habits at home. And usually as parents, we give the same habits to our students, to our children.
Correct.
Even teachers are like that. That is how they have learned as children, as students in schools. And that is what they think is, something they should be doing to their students. It's the familiarity, and also it's scalable.
Right.
This is something which is scalable, easier to standardize, and systems usually prioritize efficiency over effectiveness. Or there's also a lot of lack of training and support for educators over decades. And for example, you take any software company, right? Of course, we are not working with humans there, it's products and systems. When you do anything new, you see that they do intense trainings, scrum meetings, constant collaboration. And this is only to work on some product development.
Yeah.
Working on humans, then imagine how much training another human has to go through to deal with these little young humans.
Correct.
That missing piece is just, making people to just do what they've been doing. To come out of that comfort zone requires a lot of understanding, training, and awareness. That push is required.
Correct.
I feel it's the familiarity and the scalability is making people just be there where they are.
Very interesting. When I was preparing for my conversation with you, I was fascinated with the Idea Loom approach that you have designed.
Right.
What exactly is the Idea Loom approach, and how does it work?
So when I was, starting Keystone, one thought crossed my mind that usually any school, when we start, after a decade, the idea becomes old. And, a new school of thought will come, another decade, new school of thought will come. Then I thought, how can Keystone be relevant irrespective of any decade? And irrespective of, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, then school should be a very dynamic environment, constantly innovating itself, systems innovating itself, processes innovating itself. That's when I felt I should not create just a school, but rather a lab, like an education lab. So to me, Keystone School is more like a lab and also more like, a constant innovation dynamic environment.
Right.
And within this environment, Idea Loom is more of a structured framework, where we weave together curiosity, inquiry, creation, all of that, but that might sound abstract to a lot of listeners. So to put it in simple words, students begin with a question, get into the communities. And again, in India, there's no dearth to problems. So many communities around. Every single student at Keystone gets into these communities. Go meet the people in these communities, weavers, farmers, labor camps, GHMC workers, like every single corner. And they go through this empathize stage, which is the most difficult one, and understand what do I connect with?
Correct.
Which problem do I want to solve? And when they come back, with that empathy and understanding, they connect that with their subject, they connect that with their ideas, disciplines, how I should, solve this, how I can, come up with a solution for it. And they go through 4 to 5 months of creating a solution for it, like real product, real service, real
Mm.
more than what the end product is of Idea Loom approach is about the journey that they go through.
Mm.
Something that we all do after
Correct.
grad schools.
Mm.
And we get into real place and try to do real things. So
Mm.
that's something that we got to school level and make our kids go through the same
Very,
experience.
very interesting. I mean, I'm sure the kids coming out of Keystone will be very, very much more aware than a lot of other students.
Yeah, and that's
And
the goal.
yeah, but tell me, so the follow-up question for that is that what happens to the mindset of students when they shift from consuming knowledge to
Right.
creating solutions?
I think it first and most important thing that I have seen in students is confidence and ownership.
Mm.
Why I say again, confidence is a word that is being used a lot.
Mm.
Some kids, anytime in the education space, when we talk about any model,
Mm.
students with confidence, some students have it inherently. I'm not talking about who are born with that
Yeah.
confidence, have that. At least 10% in every classroom have that, irrespective if it's a government school or any other school.
Mm.
The rest of them need that nurturing, need such opportunities, need such exposure, needs that kind of a talking experience.
Mm.
So the Idea Loom approach enables and allows them to go through all these experiences
Mm.
where every kid feels I am also creating something,
Mm.
irrespective of how capable I am in math, how capable I am in my science. Each student, if they're creating something and they're making something and they feel I'm solving some problem for somebody, you get that ownership. So when you have that confidence, you have that ownership, you bring the same, capability to your core academic learning also.
Mm.
And that is something that I feel is a great, mind shift in the students.
Amazing. Moving on, Sri, you founded KCITE to empower teachers.
Right.
Why do you believe teachers are the key to educational transformation?
Yeah, again, one of my favorite questions
Mm.
that anyone would ask me. I jump into this because, see, all of us as educators, as policymakers, right from political leaders, every single person, we
Mm.
have a lot to say about education.
Correct.
Everyone wants the best for the nation, for the students, and every single, whether it's a private institution or a public institution.
Mm.
We all have these panels, great reforms,
Yeah,
NEPs, many things. Who is the one who is actually supposed to implement them in the
mm.
class? It's the teacher.
Correct.
And every time when we talk about anything that is related to education transformation, we
Mm.
all keep the student in mind,
Mm.
the child at the
Yeah,
center
yeah.
concept.
Mm.
My concern, or rather my say, would be teacher at the center in
Mm.
terms of all our thinking process.
Mm.
That who's the one who's supposed to make this happen? It's the teacher.
Mm.
And as long as we are taking care of the teacher, we are able to empower that teacher, give her everything that teacher needs, awareness or knowledge or training, exposure, whatever. I don't think so. We really need to worry about the students.
Mm. Amazing.
And it's that person who will enable them automatically. And again, not 100% of the scenarios, but
Mm.
majority.
Mm.
And that's where, for me, empowering teachers is my purpose. And
Very
that's how I
interesting.
started
Very
KSITE. And
interesting.
KSITE is all about how can we bring in all the best resources and best ways. Like we are innovating so many things in schools in terms of what students should be experiencing.
Mm.
So what I'm doing is innovating the best ways of what teachers can experience.
Correct. Correct. So tell me, and I'm sorry I mispronounced case site, but
Yes.
tell me, how do teachers adapt to the case site model when they've been trained in traditional teaching methodologies?
So I'll give you one, small example. when you go to a teacher and ask her to, okay, now I want you to go teach students about empathy. And we are going to train this teacher. Okay, this is how you will teach the student to empathize. The teacher will pick up the terminology, empathy. And this teacher will go to the student and say, okay, kids, now I want you all to empathize. I want you all to be nice with each other and everything. Same thing. Now imagine we go to the teacher to not talk about the student and say, what were the moments in your life that you felt bad about, that you felt you were not heard, that you felt you were really struggling personally or professionally? And we are trying to talk to this teacher as a human now, not as a teacher. And then we slowly make her understand, what is empathy to you? What were the scenarios in your life where you were able to empathize or disconnect? Then just after going through this experience, tell that teacher, can you go tell your students and have them understand, empathize? She'll go and tell them, kids, what are the concerns you have? What do you think you're going through? How do you reflect? The whole language changes. I feel it is more to do with teaching, understanding teachers are also like students. They have not gone through all these things. So they need to also be treated as students and make them understand it better. I think that is how, teacher empowerment should be. That is how teacher training should, shift should happen in how we think about teachers.
Very interesting. My next question is, and again, this based on what I was reading about everything that you'd sent to me, that you also speak about integrating financial literacy and digital citizenship into the lives of everyday learning. How do you ask teachers to impart these skills? And give me an example if you can.
Financial literacy, I have seen financial literacy has been spoken about a lot. And I have seen a couple of schools, where we talk about the biggest, mistake that most parents or adults make in India. When children talk about money, the first thing they say, better you don't worry about money. Okay, we will take care of it.
Correct.
You just study. And that starts creating a gap of a child's understanding and association with money. And the name of our program is Money Matters. And it is what actually it means, right? It matters. We need to, again, based on, the age group, right? The right age group. Why money matters? I mean, I have spoken to so many individuals and adults post your graduation, irrespective of which economical background a person comes from, everyone deals with money.
Right.
That's the first thing that you deal with.
Correct.
Which job, my family or marriage or kids, every single day there is some conversation about money that an adult deals with. And we don't talk about it. And that's where I feel financial literacy comes in, not in terms of knowing the facts. Okay, what is a bank? What is a check? How do you go? See, these are the facts that will evolve. Today, there might be, physical banks existing. Tomorrow might not.
Correct.
They say this in Psychology of Money book. It's the habits of money that you're building that is financial literacy to me.
Correct.
I've seen financial literacy models which are more to, give them a couple of facts, which I feel might become obsolete. So financial literacy in the school program, and which we are offering to other schools also right now, is more to do with how do you create these money matter habits. They go through certain specific curriculum. Like, for example, we give them, okay, you finish these tasks, you're earning 200 points. Now, in 200 points, there's another, 3 sets of tasks that are given, where in one, they might be investing. In one, they might be, there's a concept called need and wants. Now, where are you going to put this 200 points? Are you going to put all 200 in need, or are you going to put it in want?
Yeah.
See, these are habits.
Correct.
Right? Again, if it's, higher grades, you would more talk about, are you going to put it in real estate or stock? It gets real. The examples get more real. But to be able to have that confidence to talk about money, talking about loans that parents have taken, once they get to high school.
Yeah.
To a simple, how much money are we spending for our grocery in our house,
Absolutely.
to what my dad is doing for his business decisions. I think they can hear those and they will be able to comprehend such information and understanding.
Very well explained. Thank you. My next question, Sri, is that with AI and technology transforming society,
Yeah.
what should schools start doing differently for students and teachers today?
Wow, the AI is a big thing, right? The big word.
Absolutely. Everyone's
The
talking about
last
it.
2 years,
Mm.
I have seen both the extremes, Ashutosh, honestly speaking, because, through my NGO, I work with a lot of government school.
Mm.
So I cannot quote the people's name. I'll
Yeah,
quote it, conversation.
absolutely. Mm.
So we have been to one of the IITs, top IIT institution in the country.
Mm.
And we were talking to this, professor, head of a department,
Mm.
and there was a mandate to do AI training to all the teachers next 1 week. And they got all the government school teachers, like 200 of them, 300 of them, and they did a training. And, they said, okay, we have equipped 300 educators with AI. The reality, after the course, this professor asked, these educators, how do you think you're gonna, go and utilize these skill set back in the school? हमारे पास कंप्यूटर भी नहीं है, right? And we are talking about AI. We learned, we are happy that we got some new knowledge. But practically, we are in situations where we don't know, even the basics.
Wow.
Students do not have access to this. And cut to, another conversation. Again, big schools, teachers coming from there, AI. We did a small survey with 100 educators, all in top private schools. And we asked them, what are you using AI for? Again, this is not any special one scenario, right? Across 100, 200 educators. And the survey results were majority, 85 to 90% of them were using AI for drafting. So, I think the AI conversation is great, being
Correct.
aware is great.
Yeah.
Not understanding when we give knowledge transfer to teachers, to principals, understanding the resources that they have access to, and what is the most usable AI use case scenario that we can equip them with. That is what I feel is important. And the same thing, like with students also, whoever has access, I think kids learning AI, it's like giving someone an iPhone, and even a 3-year-old, give them an iPhone, they know how to, use it.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Kids would struggle with using this technology. The challenge is, how do we equip them on how to make it like a supplement to their learning?
Right.
I don't think it's a challenge. Even a student who's gone to a government school, in 10 days, he has access to technology, he'll figure it out.
Correct.
We don't have to go back and train them, open ChatGPT, give a prompt how to do this. It is not about giving them instructions on how to use AI. It is about equipping them the knowledge about AI. What are the best ways that you can do it, both for educators or students?
Yeah. Very, very interesting. So you have time for one more question. And this is a general question I'm asking you. If every student graduating from school could develop just one mindset or quality,
right,
what would you want that to be and why?
I think resilience. Resilience stands on the top of the list for me. High school students, especially the ones who are just going out from school to the university, they're all coming out, whether it's a government school, private school, with an urgency of getting something done right away.
Correct.
Because they're getting used to getting information very quick, getting food very fast. Anything that they need, they're able to access it immediately. But life doesn't work that way.
Right.
That what they want to achieve in life will not happen that fast. What they want to become, in terms of their career, who they are as a person, will not come very fast. To be able to build that resilience, that you want to do something in life, you want to achieve something in life, it requires years. It requires consistent, long-term, sustainable effort. And to be able to build that, and everyone walks out from schools with that resilience, I think they can survive the rest.
How amazing. And on that note, and your amazing thought of every student must build resilience, which is such a powerful word and yet so needed in every single individual.
Okay.
Thank you, Sri, for talking to me about your own incredible journey, about all the great work that you're doing at Keystone School, at KCITE, and a whole lot of other initiatives that you have.
Thank
Thank
you.
you again, and good luck to you.
Thanks a lot. It was wonderful talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.